Okay, so this lesson basically ties into what you did in the previous page. You learned about inverting triads and getting from a root position to a first inversion triad to a second inversion triad. Now we're going to learn how to label those triads. Okay, classical music has a system of labeling for inversions, which is called figured bass. In this system, two figures are added alongside the Roman numeral to represent the inversion. We still have the Roman numeral 1 if it's a 1 chord, if it's a triad built on the first note of the scale. But if you have a first inversion triad, we put a little 6-3 beside the chord, beside the Roman numeral. The reason we do that is because since we took that bottom note and moved it up to the top, we've now created different intervals. We no longer have a third above the bottom and a fifth above the bottom. We now have a third above the bottom note and a sixth above the bottom note, the bass note. So that's why we put 6-3. That indicates that we have the three notes that are part of a one triad, a tonic triad, but set up in such a way that we have a sixth above the bottom and a third above the bottom. The next set, if that made sense, hopefully it did, then the next part should also make sense as well. The second inversion triad, when you have the fifth of the triad at the bottom, is labeled as a 6-4 chord because it involves the interval of a fourth and a sixth above the bass note, above the bottom note. Not above the root, because the root is up in here. The root is still that C note. But it's a fourth and a sixth above the bass note, the lowest sounding pitch. All right, you're basically just looking at what the intervals are in these triads. All right, so have a look at these examples down here. The first task says identify the following triads in C major by placing Roman numerals and figured bass on the line underneath. So, to give this a quick little explanation, I want to explain the thought process behind some of this stuff. So, with the first example, okay, they told you we're in C major, so we're going to use 1, 4, and 5 chords. If you look at these three notes, in the key of C major, you have scale degree 3, the third note of the scale, the fifth note of the scale, and the tonic. Well, this is obviously an inverted triad because you can see that this note is up on its own. So if you were to bring this C down to the bottom, that would create your snowman. So that's how you know that this note C is the root of the triad. If C is the root of this triad in the key of C major, that's why it's a 1 chord. And it's set up in such a way that you have an interval of a sixth above the bass note and a third above the bass note. Next one, you can see this is in snowman format, so the root of the triad is at the bottom. Since this note is G, or scale degree 5, that's why we put a 5. Notice in the next example that we have the same notes, the exact same notes. They're just organized differently. That's why we still put a 5, it's still a 5 chord, but it's arranged in such a way that we have an interval of a sixth above the bass and a fourth above the bass. Have a look at the next one. I'll do this next one with you and then you'll carry on with the rest by yourself. So, we obviously don't have a snowman, so you can't just assume that the bottom note is the root note. Okay, this note in the middle here would be the bottom of a snowman. If we were to take this C, put it up top onto the third space, then we have your basic snowman root position triad. So this F is the bottom of your snowman. It's the root note. Now think of this. In the key of C major, the note F is scale degree what? C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, and F is 4, scale degree 4. So I'm going to write a 4, Roman numeral 4, because it is a 4 chord. It's a triad built on the fourth note of the scale right here. And now what do we do to label its inversion? Well, we look at the intervals that are being created here. What interval do we have here from C to F And what interval do we have from C to A? The upper interval we write at top. So C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to write a 6 here. And then also write a 4 because we have an interval of a fourth. This is a 4, 6, 4 triad. You're going to use that logic to finish up that worksheet. Okay. And it says here, the next little section, identify the following triads in G major by placing Roman numerals and figured bass on the line underneath. So you're going to do the exact same thing, but now we're just in a new key. Since we're in a new key, your tonic is now G. Your subdominant, or your fourth note of the scale, is C, and your fifth note of the scale is D. So just do the exact same assignment down here. You're just thinking in a new key signature. And then at the bottom, write major triads as indicated by the key signature, Roman numerals, and figured bass given below the staff. The first one's been done for you. So in the example, G major, 1 chord. So G, B, D, a triad built on the note G. So you would use the second line, third line, and fourth line. That would be your snowman. But since they say 6-3, you're going to rearrange the notes so that you have an interval of a sixth above the bottom and a third above the bottom. That's all you have to do. Next example in the key of F. F is your tonic, but we're not going to use a tonic because they want a triad built on the fifth note of the scale. So go up to the fifth note of the scale, build your triad, build your snowman, and then rearrange those notes by moving things up or down an octave to get them into 6-4 position. All right, if you have any questions, just like any worksheet, ask in class. We'll do some examples together. I'll help you out. We'll make sense of this. We'll make it work. All right, take care. Enjoy.